You are standing in a world that runs on one substance. Not money, not data, not faith. Fuel. Every time a plane lifts off. Every time a container ship pushes out of port. Every time a war starts on the other side of the world. And nobody can quite explain why, but the map always centers on the same region. Someone in this chain gets paid. The oil industry is the largest business in human history. The world burns 100 million barrels of crude oil every single day. At current prices, $8 billion per day, every day. Since before you were born, the counter has never stopped. This entire system is held together by a chain of human beings, each one trading something they can never get back for something the world cannot stop buying. We're going to walk that chain, rank by rank, from the kid who shows up on a rig and doesn't know if he'll come home with all his fingers, to the man whose phone call can move the price of a barrel by $1 and make himself $1 billion overnight. Let's print the receipt. Rank 1, the roustabout, the worm. You are 19 years old. You come from a town in northern Alberta where the best job available is managing a gas station. Your father worked the rigs, or your uncle did, or the man down the road who came back with money and a limp and never talked about what happened out there. You are a roustabout, the lowest position on a drilling rig. In oilfield slang, the worm, not as an insult, as a classification. Your first morning, a man with sun-cracked skin and hands the size of dinner plates stands in front of your group. 6 new hires, all of you scared, none of you admitting it, and says one sentence. If something goes wrong out here, emergency services are a minimum of 3 hours away. That's not a warning. That's a statement about your value. You are, in the purest financial sense, a line item. You drag steel pipe across decks covered in grease and salt water. You carry equipment that outweighs you in the rain, in the dark, on a platform that sways because the ocean doesn't care about your shift schedule or your knees. You make $40,000 to $75,000 a year. You work 12-hour shifts, 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off. You sleep in a metal container that smells like diesel and the particular sourness of men who haven't seen their families in 14 days. Here is a number they don't put on the recruitment poster. The oil and gas industry has a fatality rate of 27.1 deaths per 100,000 workers. The national average is 3.8, 7 times more likely to die at work than the average person. The most common way to die on a rig is not an explosion. It's being caught between. A pipe swings, a chain slips. It happens in 2 seconds. There is no fireball. There is a sound. And then someone who was eating breakfast next to you is on the deck, and the men around him are standing still because they've seen this before. The company files an incident report. You go back to your container and call your mother and tell her you're fine. If you can handle it, the cold, the heat, the boredom, the danger, you get noticed. Not for your personality, not for your ideas. For one thing only, you show up. Rank 2, the roughneck, the cowboy. You are a roughneck, 24 years old. Your shoulders sound like gravel when you roll them. You make $60,000 to $90,000 a year. You work 80 to 100 hours a week. Your job is to keep the rig turning, spinning pipe, connecting joints that weigh up to 2,000 pounds, fast, because every minute the drill isn't turning costs the operator money. $25,000 per day onshore, $500,000 for a deep water floater. When the tool pusher says move, the math is standing behind him with its arms crossed. You learn the vocabulary of danger from the way the men around you react to sounds. Kicking when the well starts pushing back. Every roughneck knows the sound, a change in the vibration, a shudder in the floor. You look at the driller's cabin. If the driller is calm, you're calm. If the driller is standing, you move. Blowout when kicking wins. You have seconds, not minutes, to activate the blowout preventer, or the rig becomes a funeral pyre. You know exactly how much your death is worth. It's on page 4 of your contract in a section labeled Death and Dismemberment Benefit. It is not a fortune. It is just enough that everyone understands the transaction. You give the company your body. They give your family a number. Rank 3, the driller, the nerve center. Now you sit in a chair. For the first time in your career, your hands are clean. You are the driller. The crew answers to you. You make $90,000 to $180,000 a year. Your hands don't bleed anymore, but they shake sometimes from the knowledge of what a wrong decision in this chair looks like. Your job is to watch the numbers: pressure, flow rate, weight on bit, torque, mud weight. Each number is a sentence in a language the well is speaking. Most of the time, the numbers stay flat, and you drink your coffee and stare and your back aches. Then, the numbers twitch. And in that 2-second window, a gauge flickers. You don't know yet if it's a sensor glitch or the beginning of something that kills everyone on this platform. You make a decision that nobody will second guess if you're right, and everyone will investigate if you're wrong. On April 20th, 2010, a driller on the Deepwater Horizon saw the numbers twitch. The rig was 43 days behind schedule, $1 million a day over. The cement job had failed. The warning signs had been noted and explained away. The company man said, "Keep going." 11 men died that night. The rig burned for 36 hours and sank. 4.9 million barrels poured into the Gulf of Mexico over 87 days. Nobody remembers the name of the roustabout who died. But the driller, the company man, their decisions are reconstructed minute by minute. Every pressure reading they saw, every second they hesitated, it's all in the file. Your son is 8. He drew a picture of your family for school. You're not in it. Not because he forgot. Because you weren't there enough to be remembered as part of it. Rank 4, the company man, the operator's fist. You don't work for the rig anymore. You work over it. You are the company man, the operator's eyes and fists on location. You make $150,000 to $400,000 a year, $800 to $2,000 a day. The Permian Basin, lower end. Deepwater Angola, top end. An emergency well kill in a war zone. Name your price. Every day you're on location, you control hundreds of thousands of dollars in burn rate. Your job, keep the well on schedule. Keep it under budget. Keep the words environmental violation off your paperwork. You walk onto the rig and everyone becomes polite.
Every problem is already handled, sir.
Because they know something about your position that you will slowly learn to forget. You are replaceable. If the well goes wrong, they don't blame the company. They blame you. Your daughter has a recital. You sit in the audience, and your phone vibrates. Kick on the 14 well. Need you on location. You look at your daughter playing violin. She's not looking at you. She learned to not look for you a long time ago. You have developed a new fear that has nothing to do with falling or drowning or fire. The fear of being blamed. Your signature is the one they enlarge on a courtroom screen. Rank 5, the petroleum executive, the euphemist. You're not the oil guy anymore. You're in energy. You are a VP of operations, a senior vice president of upstream development, a title that means you move numbers on a screen that move thousands of people in real life. Drill here, don't drill there. Lay off 1,200 people in Aberdeen. The spreadsheet doesn't show their faces. It shows barrels per day and the delta between forecast and actual that determines whether you keep your job past February. You make $500,000 to $1.5 million a year, and you've learned the language of corporate oil. You don't say oil spill. You say unplanned discharge event. You don't say we fired 2,000 people because oil dropped to $58. You say we right-sized the organization to align with current commodity pricing. These aren't lies exactly. They're a language designed to make brutal things sound procedural. You've spoken it so long you sometimes forget there's another way. You used to look at a map and see the rig, the men, the sound of the drill floor at night. Now you see portfolio allocations. In oil, careers don't end in failure. They end in silence. Your emails get answered a day late, then 2 days late. Rank 6, the oil CEO, the villain. Congratulations. You are now the villain in half the world's documentaries. Darren Woods, CEO of ExxonMobil, earned $36.9 million in 2023, $44 million in 2024. Mike Wirth at Chevron, 26.5, then 32.7. Most of it in stock. If the share price drops 20%, your compensation drops with it. Your net worth is a thermometer plugged into a commodity that moves on war, weather, and the moods of OPEC ministers you've never met. Your job, keep the stock price up, keep reserves booked, keep governments and producing nations happy enough not to nationalize you. Those three objectives contradict each other, and in oil, there is always a crisis. You release sustainability reports with pictures of wind turbines on the cover. 64 glossy pages saying your company is committed to a future that doesn't require the product generating 93% of your revenue. Then you sign off on another deep water project in Guyana that will pump crude for 30 years. Your home address is scrubbed from public records. The last CEO received 14 death threats in a single quarter. Your risk isn't physical. Your risk is legacy. In 50 years, your name will either be a footnote or a case study about the men who knew what was happening to the climate and chose quarterly earnings over atmospheric physics. You don't think about that. You think about the next board meeting, the next barrel. Rank 7. The oil tycoon, the invisible hand. You don't run a company, you run leverage. On paper, you're a private citizen, a businessman, maybe a philanthropist. The word they use when someone with your net worth donates enough to a museum to get their name on the wing, but not enough to change the system that made them rich. Your phone calls move markets. Not because you say buy or sell, but because when you say I'm interested in this basin, the ripple crosses oceans before the call ends. There are two kinds of oil tycoons. The first kind built empires. Harold Hamm, youngest of 13 children in a sharecropper's family in Oklahoma, single-handedly pioneered hydraulic fracturing in the Bakken Formation. At his peak, $24 billion. His divorce check to his ex-wife was $1.4 billion, written on a personal check. The Koch brothers inherited a refining business and turned it into an industrial conglomerate worth over $100 billion, spending hundreds of millions on political infrastructure that reshaped American energy policy for a generation. The Saudi royals, who don't technically own Aramco, the most profitable company in human history, except that the line between the royal family and the state is drawn in sand, and the wind has been blowing for a long time. The second kind trades. Mark Rich founded the company that became Glencore. He traded oil with Iran during the hostage crisis, was indicted by the United States government, fled to Switzerland, was pardoned by a president on his last day in office, died in 2013, worth over $1 billion, in a country that doesn't extradite. The traders at Vitol, Trafigura, and Gunvor move more oil per day than most countries produce. In 2022, Trafigura alone reported $7 billion in profit. These are not household names. That is by design. The most powerful people in the oil trade are the ones whose names you've never heard. You fund think tanks that put your arguments on cable news without disclosing who pays for them. You donate to every side of every election because the only thing more expensive than a politician is not having one. You've built everything on one assumption. The world will keep burning what you sell. If you're right, your grandchildren's grandchildren will never work a day in their lives. If you're wrong, your name becomes a chapter heading in a history book about a fuel the world moved on from. The total. The world burns 100 million barrels every single day, $3 trillion a year. From the roustabout who gave his body and was replaced by Thursday, to the roughneck who gave his joints and hears pipes spinning in his sleep, to the driller who gave his nerves and went home to a family drawing he isn't in, to the company man who gave his presence and learned to fear blame more than death, to the executive who gave his language, to the CEO who gave his legacy, to the tycoon who gave nothing and took everything. Every rank exists for one purpose: to keep $8 billion moving from the ground to the atmosphere every single day. And tomorrow, the counter resets to 0, and the whole machine starts again. The world still runs on oil. The only question is how long, and who pays when it stops. Next time, we trace a single diamond from a mud pit in Sierra Leone to a velvet box in Manhattan. 7 hands touch it. The markup is 19,900%. The person who dug it up made $100. Subscribe. We print the receipt.